Bears host the Broncos later today. So for now, the Chicago sporting scene is here in Vernon Hills. Welcome to the 2007 CLR Windy City Classic. Today's $25,000 top prize will go to one of these 5 competitors. Brad Angelo has been a pro for 6 years, yet in 103 events, he has never won. Well, that changed today. There's number 4 seed Ritchie back from a hand injury. 3rd seed Mika. Koivuniemi hunts for his 2nd title of the young season. Rock Chalk Jayhawk Chris Barnes, the number 2 seed, makes his 53rd televised appearance. And the number 1 seed, Robert Smith, back from a hip injury that sidelined him for most of last season. He's a high rev guy who's a blast to watch. And we welcome you to the outskirts of Chicago for the CLR Windy City Classic. Rob Stone, happy to be back with you alongside my good friend Randy Peterson. And we begin our Stepladder final today with a 4 versus 5 matchup. It's kind of today's physical therapist bowl-off, if you will. Number 4, Ritchie Allen, stress fracture in his right ring finger, missed essentially all of last season. And number 5 seed Brad Angelo, who about 2 weeks ago could barely get out of bed due to a bad back, yet they're both here and bowling extremely well this week.
Battle of the walking wounded.
I like it. Here is Brad Angelo, number 5 seed from Lockport, New York, just outside of Buffalo. Let's roll. Good start.
By the way, congratulations, Rob. You and your wife, Lynn, she finally had the twins
Finally.
a couple of days ago.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Chandler Grace and Carson Robert. Congratulations to
Thank you, sir.
you and your family.
It's good to get on the road and get some sleep. Here's Ritchie Allen, the 4 seed. Leaves the 10 hanging.
Shark pattern, we'll get into it when we put up our lane graphic and talk about the oil pattern this week. It's 44 feet. It's our longest of the named patterns, and what that does is it forces the players to play the middle part of the lane. The outside part of the lane is out of bounds.
Takes care of that. He's nicknamed THB. We'll get into that in a moment. Let's take a look at our Motel 6 matchup. Angelo taking on Allen. Numbers fairly similar. No 300 games here this week, which has kind of caught us all off guard.
Last season, this was the lowest scoring pattern of the 5 name patterns. This week, a modified version of round robin match play. That's why you see the match play record there.
There he gets his first strike. Now they say the pins here carry so much, so you get some good play if you hit it right.
Yeah, pin carry here in this center is generally really good, and that's why it's surprising we didn't have any 300 games this week. But as that oil starts to push down the lane, that's when the angle starts to change and the carry starts to go in the other direction.
Gets it. Ah, just nudged that 10 down. Angelo 3 and 12 on television, just a 20% winning percentage, 0 PBA Tour titles. Trying to get off the TV schneid and finally win one.
Little love tap there by the 6 pin on the 10, just enough to carry that 10 pin. Give him that early double.
And Angelo looking to open up with a turkey. So we finally found out what a turkey means.
Go ahead.
I want to get to it in a second. I'm excited about this. My friend Jerry Breitinger in Pennsylvania emailed us to tell us what a turkey is. He got it! All right, so a turkey dates back to turn of the century, right? In those years, scoring was much more challenging. It was tough to get 3 strikes in a row. So during the holidays, during Christmas and Thanksgiving week, the proprietor would present a live turkey. A live turkey. So the first player on each team who scored 3 consecutive strikes, hence the turkey. Is that great or what?
It's beautiful.
I love this sport more and more each week.
Oh, no.
Didn't like it.
That was about as bad as you can throw it there.
Didn't get punished too badly, though.
Very unique style of Ritchie Allen. He says that he has to watch. He starts to tip or lean a little bit too much. That's when he starts to really grab it at the bottom of the swing. This one he didn't like immediately as he let go of it. Although it did hit the pocket, it was a little high flush. Not a good break, leaving a solid 9.
His nickname is THB, and it sounds like a designer drug that you would stumble on the Tour de France. Actually, it's called Typical House Bowler, right? And Bill Hall, a coach who's coached some big names, watched him bowl and said, you know, you're a THB, you're a typical house bowler. You're a product of high-scoring lanes and balls. And well, Mr. Allen took that as motivation and said, all right, well, that's my nickname because I'm not a typical house bowler, but he also admits his game hasn't changed all that much. A few little tweaks here and there.
Well, he's certainly not a typical house bowler. Ritchie Allen's got a lot of skill, and he's just getting better and better. He's learning equipment. He's learning how to manipulate bowling balls and releases. And right now, he needs to figure out a way to get all 10 pins to carry when his ball hits the pocket.
Come on.
Says his mind's in a good place right now, recently married to Sarah in April. And he says, you know what, Randy? Rob, she's finally making me feel like I'm an adult. That's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. It's got to happen sooner or later. So for the second time, he's left the 10 standing. And again, he takes care of it. Allen married in April. His wife, Sarah, she's got a big job interview tomorrow. Local bank? Speaking of money.
Hope she gets it and she can somehow find a way to get me a couple of bags full of hundreds.
$25,000 on the line for the winner today.
She finds them just kind of laying around somewhere that nobody's really using.
It's all done electronically these days, from what I'm told. Angelo. 4 in a row. Excellent start. What bad back.
And early on, Brad's backswing looks like it's a little bit lower than it normally is, and that is probably directly related to his back being a little stiff, a little sore. Right now, he is perfect through 4 frames.
Last week, Michael Hogan Jr. won his first career title in 200 career events. And Angelo get his first career title this week. As we take a look at our Flomax weekly update from Angelo. Did not bowl last week and the week prior to that due to this back injury. We're going to talk about that in a moment. Interesting therapy he's been going under.
How about that?
Now, we were talking to him yesterday. You know, he hasn't won that title yet. He feels when he gets on television, he gets a little rattled, and it's in his brain. But he's fighting through it today and bowling wonderfully. Said he wasn't sure if he was going to be sitting today either. Sitting really hurts his back. He'd rather be standing or walking around. Allen, there we go.
Little trip 4, that never hurt anybody.
Great grin, too. So to strike off the spare.
Ritchie Allen qualified 8th, lost to Mika in position round. Dropped into that 4th position.
Allen down 41 pins right now. Working on a strike here in the 6th. Very emotional player. He's corralled them a little bit this season.
Well, every ball in the pocket, and that one, again, just a bit high, and he pays for it. 4-9 split. The frame before that, on almost the same hit, he trips the 4th hit.
Brad Angelo, the 5 seed, with a huge lead. When we return, the conclusion of the 5v4 matchup between Angelo and Allen. The CLR Windy City Classic is brought to you by CLR. CLR, all kinds of dirty, one kind of clean. By Denny's. Denny's always works. By Motel 6, official lodging partner of the PBA. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% on car insurance. Visit geico.com.
Take a look at our Lumber Liquidators oil pattern this week. And it's a challenging one.
I said earlier, it's the longest of the named patterns. So you've only got 16 feet of back end. And what happens is the players use sanded bowling balls to try to create some friction. And what happens is that beats up the front part of the lane and makes it tougher to get to the break point on a consistent basis.
There we go.
The other thing that makes this, pattern difficult is the outside part of the lane. There's like cliffs, and if you get it too far to the right, it falls off of that cliff and has no chance of getting back to the pocket.
And the guys were telling us that through the week, it seemed like there was constant alterations you had to make to your game. And a couple of the bowlers we have coming up completely avoid the issue by lofting it over, essentially just kind of chipping over the rough stuff.
Well, that's what Ritchie did all week, was a little bit more loft. He could kind of play his natural game, but Mika Koivuniemi coming up in our next match, that's what he does. That's his bread and butter. And when you can clear the front part of the lane on this pattern, or any pattern for that matter, you're going to have an advantage.
Bad decision I made.
Angelo, for all intents and purposes, will be moving on right now unless he runs head on to a few gutter balls. That was flat.
Mathematically, this match is over, and the only thing that will keep Brad from taking on Mika Koivuniemi is maybe a
back spasm.
Back going out.
This will be Allen's first top 10 finish
Brad, go get him, man.
of the season, so we're
Good
trying to
job.
look at some positives for Ritchie. Certainly not the game he wanted to bowl right now, and he'll pack his bags and get ready for next week. So Brad Angelo, the number 5 seed, will take on Mika Koivuniemi in match number 2. And he brought up the subject yesterday, Randy, of, you know, what's the big question, guys? What's the big question you ask me all the time? When am I going to win that first title? And he said something interesting that I thought, at least. He said, this one is different. Just the different feel, maybe the different attitude, the mental outlook. Something about this week has been different for Brad Angelo, who has a 101 pin advantage right now. Not trying to make light of Ritchie Allen, but are you kidding me? 101 pin advantage?
Well, Ritchie bowled better than 168. His pin carry wasn't very good, and then he lost the pocket the last 4 frames. But tough to beat 279, or, well, he's going to be in the 260s. That's tough to beat anytime. So,
Thank you. Thanks.
but Brad Angelo's got a tough task ahead of him today. He's got to go all the way up the ladder and win 4 matches to win his first title.
With a bum back.
With a bad bat.
We'll talk about that back in the next match. I told us yesterday, I think the line was, my back feels very shaky right now, Doc.
Thank you. But if that's a shaky back, I'll take it any day. A huge 97-pin win for Angelo with a bum back. 265 to 168. He moves on as we take a look at our CLR clean sweep. And it's on, Mr. Angelo. What a start.
Just rock solid for the first 10 frames. Big 265 taking care of Ritchie Allen.
Well, on deck for Mr. Angelo, Mika Koivuniemi. The Big Fin tries to be the first to pocket 2 title checks this season. Welcome back to ESPN's live coverage of the CLR Windy City Classic, the 6th PBA event of the season. The 7th, next week, the Great Lakes Classic, just outside of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Again, live here on ESPN at 1. The following week, we had Baltimore, Maryland, the Lumber Liquidators Championship. That one also on ESPN. So Brad Angelo, the 5 seed, has moved on to take on that man, the 3 seed, Mika Koivuniemi. Any thoughts as we head into this one, Randy?
Major Mika, all the experience. He's won titles in, 11 different countries. Fresh off of his win a couple of months ago in Japan at the Daido Japan Cup. Made a show a couple of weeks ago in Taylor. You know he's always going to bring it. He's tough mentally as well as physically.
Angelo started game 1 with 7 straight strikes. Was a little heavy on the head pin right there. Almost hit it flush. Not the same start.
And the lanes are going to go through transition each time a new player comes on the lanes, depending on what type of surface they're using on their equipment, where they're playing on the lane. The guy coming on gets practice. Brad gets practice on an alternate lane, not on the TV pair. The lanes are going to change right in front of him. Brad needs to make the adjustments necessary. And right there on that spare, he's going to get a little bit of an idea of where to go.
So up steps now Koivuniemi, making his 3rd championship round appearance in the season's first 6 events. This will be at a minimum his 4th top 9 finish of the season as he seeks his 9th title.
And Rob, you know, I mentioned at the top of the show that you and your wife had twins. Well, our replay technician who's with us week in and week out, Steve Grant and his wife Betsy, they had twins about 7 months ago. Jason, Caden, there's babies everywhere.
I know. It's in the boiling water. Steve was giving me some twin advice. I had no idea what he was talking about, but I just nodded and blinked my eyes.
Congratulations to Steve and Betsy.
All right, so match 2 starts off with spares for both of our competitors. Now let's see how they respond in the second.
Mika Koivuniemi playing a completely different line. He's going to go much straighter than any of the other competitors today, and he feels that that's an advantage. If he can get his ball to the pocket playing there, he doesn't think anybody else can play that line, and he gets it done with loft. Check out the loft on this shot here.
Standing.
2-pin, 2-pin, both shots. Remember, again, a very slick pattern, 44 feet, and he's not able to get his ball to tip up to the pocket yet. He's going to make an adjustment, whether it's with speed, angle, or maybe going to a different piece of equipment.
Missed only one single pin spare this week, and that remains the same. Number 2 on the money list this season is Mika.
$50,000 payday in Japan didn't hurt any.
He became the PBA's 37th millionaire last week at the Lake County, Indiana Classic with his 9th place finish. Angelo working off a spare. Stands tall. A few weeks back, Angelo was at a gym spotting his buddy who was doing chest press with the dumbbells. His buddy was struggling, and the weights came down while Angelo was spotting him, and the result was 2 bulging discs, and he may have torn a ligament in his back. 2 weeks ago, he was telling us he couldn't even get out of bed, and he was seriously considering or preferring taking this season off. Somebody talked to him and said, hey, you got to see this guy, Dr. Brierly here in Lockport, New York. Dr. Brierly teaches active release therapy, ART, and the recovery for him has been unbelievable, he's been telling us.
Let's talk about the shark pattern. In this part of the lane, anything right of this is out of bounds. The big hook guys are going to be in here, and they're going to be slow wheeling it. Mika is trying to go real straight right on the edge of that oil line, but yet to get his ball to finish hard enough in the back part of the lane. Brad Angelo, in talking about his sore back, I think that's a plus for him because he's got to be a little bit softer at the release point with his hand to get his ball to tip up the right way.
There we go. Also, mentally, if you know you're injured, you kind of have that thought of like, oh, nothing's really expected of me. Let's go out, let's have fun, and let's be loose. And he started off wonderfully loose and just wonderful in game one, opening with 7 straight strikes to really pull away early.
You know, and for a guy that doesn't slide very much, Brad Angelo's slide foot really comes to a complete halt right as he's letting go of it. That puts a lot of extra strain on your back as well. That plant and hit type of move.
Again, really took out the head pin, but that was about it.
The first 2 shots, Rob, went light. Mika makes an adjustment. This ball goes high. And right now, I think Mika's saying to himself, maybe this was a bad move on my part to try to play the lanes this way.
Let's see if he adjusts. Not on this cleanup here, but on the next effort.
Well, he'll have to make a big adjustment. If he's going to make any move at all, he's going to have to get away completely from what he's trying to do right now. He's going to have to move in where Brad Angelo is.
Spare, spare, spare for Mika. And this our Motel 6 matchup, 5v3 seed. Season average in favor of Mika. He's already won 1 title this year, that coming in the season opener across the Pacific in Japan. Looked better.
Yeah, and then when he gets there, it goes week 10. These are all really bad signs. And I know that Mika came in with a game plan, and he talked to us about it last night. He said, you know, I'm going to play a different part of the lane, and I think I'll have it all to myself, is what he told us. And right now, it's not looking good.
He also told us about an adjustment on how he grasps the ball this season, pushing it more with the palm of his hand, clearing the thumb faster. I don't know what any of that means, but it sounds very good and technical.
Well, that's what he's crediting all of his great success this season to, is that he made a little bit of a change in the thumb pitch, and he's trying to push the ball more with the palm of his hand at release, and that's made his thumb much faster out of the thumb hole. And he says, you know what, since I started doing that, worked real hard during the offseason, that's why I'm bowling as well as I'm bowling.
Angelo up 3, working on a strike. Strike.
Ebonite Digitrax is a device that computes digital analysis of ball motion on the lane. We have these numbers week in and week out. Brad Angelo changed balls from the first game. His ball speed's around 16.5. Mika's 19 miles an hour. Mika's at about the 14th board at the arrows. Brad Angelo the 26th board at the arrows. And Mika's lofting at about 6.5 feet out onto the lane. Two completely different ways playing this oil pattern, and the only way you experience something like this is to join a PBA Experience League or bowl out here on tour.
You're good. Angelo up 13. Oh, borderline Brooklyn strike. Stare it down and enjoy it. When things are going well, they're going well.
There's 2 things that Mika Koivuniemi really hates. And that is, 1, getting beat by a lefty, and 2, having his opponent do that to him.
I love Mika's succinct quotes to us yesterday, this one, on bowling good. He gets to the point quick, doesn't he? Worked hard this offseason. Wasn't happy with last year's results. Hired a personal trainer. He's got more leg strength going on now. And he's going to need a little more than leg strength.
Well, for those that don't know Mika, Mika's got one of the best and quickest wits on the tour. He's a very, very funny guy, very clever. And you're right, he's very succinct with his words. He's right to the point. But at times can be hysterically funny.
Oh, I enjoy talking to him. He's got some good, quick little Finnish, clever comebacks. I asked him how he spent Thanksgiving. He kind of looked at me. I was like, oh, that's right, you're from Finland. You don't have that holiday.
But I thought
Christmas, yes.
I thought the best part of that story is he said they spent like 3 days of celebrating Christmas.
Yeah, it's like a Christmas bender in Finland. 3 to 5 days of national holidays and eating and drinking and hanging out with family.
That is tremendous. You know, maybe we could start that trend
I'm
here.
thinking about moving to Finland just for that. Although also in another fine, succinct quote from Mika, what's the weather like in Finland these days? Cold. Cold. Cold and gray.
Right now, Mika's a little cold, looking for his first strike of the match.
Great angle to watch that strike. There's Mika back. He needed that one. His first strike of match number 2. But Angelo's working on the turkey with a 24-pin lead. Brad Angelo, the number 5 seed, with one upset in the books. Does he have another in his bag? Stick around and find out with us. Looking and finding 7 in a row.
That hit there puts Brad in the 250s. The best Mika Koivuniemi can shoot if he strikes out is 245, and right now all the breaks going towards the Angelo camp. Check this out, trip 4, 7 in a row.
He's telling us sitting in that chair is one of the most uncomfortable things for his back right now. But probably feels a little bit better when he had a 44-point lead on the big fin.
Well, right now Mika's saying, why didn't I make this move sooner? He went light, high, left a weak 10, went high again, and then made the move.
A couple frames too late. 4 consecutive strikes right now for Mika. Opened up with 5 straight spares. And now looking for 5 straight strikes. Yes! Maybe a good dosing, though, too little, too late.
Well, he wants to make Brad Angelo show up in the 10th frame, and the only way that will happen is if he strikes out, and he knows it. And quite honestly, you're not supposed to be able to play that part of the lane. In practice, the guys were out there using really dull balls, burning up that spot. But I think the only way you can play out there is going really straight, and you have to loft it to clear the front part of the lane.
Didn't like that one right off the release.
Come on.
And that is it. As my dad likes to say, it is all over but the shouting. Brad Angelo, the 5 seed, will move on again.
And that's what makes that angle that Mika's trying to play out there so tough. You miss a little bit to the left, and he's got no chance of holding pocket.
And just a breeze by the 3-pin.
And
Pick up there.
And the reason why he has no chance of holding pocket is because when he misses left, he's pulling it right into Brad Angelo's friction zone. And there's no chance of that ball staying on line. You know, Brad talked about this being a different format stepladder finals. Maybe this is what he needs to help earn his first ever career victory. I told him last night, I said, Brad, that's how I won my first ever title. I qualified in the number 5 hole and went all the way up the stepladder and won. It's not the easiest way to do things, but the stepladder format, you always like to be the number 1 seed, where you only have to bowl 1 match. You only need 1 win for the victory.
Angelo takes care of that, taking care of Koivuniemi, who will stay stuck on 1 win this season. So we have still not seen a twofer titleist this season on the Denny's Tour.
wasn't even planning on bowling this week. And all of a sudden, he's seen his paycheck increase by the minute.
265, 256, first 2 games today. Pretty strong.
So up next for Brad Angelo, Chris Barnes, the 8-time titleist. He's advanced to the finals for the 3rd consecutive week, but he's still searching for title number 1 this season. For the 6th consecutive season, Hawthorn Lanes has hosted PBA event. It's the CLR Windy City Classic as we take a look at our matchup. Number 2 versus number 5, Chris Barnes, former All-American from Wichita State, taking on Brad Angelo, who continues to bowl today.
You know what, Rob? You've got a voice that can make a Wolverine purr. I love working with you, man.
Lord, what have I gotten myself into? Here's Angelo. Started match 1 with 7 straight strikes. Starts match 3 with a strike.
Angelo locked and loaded. He's got the nice release going with that voodoo spin roll that he's famous for, and his ball's reading the oil pattern perfectly. Watch it come out of the end of the pattern about 44 feet down the lane, and the nice subtle turn left.
Up now, Chris Barnes, 0-2 on television this season, 1-4 in his last 4 televised appearances. It has the number 2 overall average this season, just behind Walter Ray Williams. Oh, how did that stand? Audacious.
He got slapped silly, didn't know which way to go. And again, another interesting move, completely different line to the pocket for Chris Barnes.
Oh, look at the smile on Barnes, staring this one down.
I think the best stat on Chris Barnes is since the year 2000, he's tied with Walter Ray Williams Jr. for the most amount of shows in the last 7 years with 47.
Yep, since 2000.
That's a lot.
That smirk on Barnes. If you take a look at his numbers, surrounded by a couple pretty formidable bowlers there.
Yeah, there's some pretty big names there. Duke, future Hall of Famer. Ryan Schaefer, who's made a boatload of shows. And Parker Bone III, who's a Hall of Famer. So it's pretty good company.
With a win today, Barnes would win a title in 7 consecutive seasons.
Are you kidding me?
That's nice.
He has had some funky leaves today. The 7-10.
Correct.
Well, you know, Chris came up to us before the show started and said the tricky lane will be the left lane because of pin carry, and it's a little tighter down the lane, but hard to believe that Chris will leave pocket 7-10 on a line that straight.
There have only been 3 7-10 split conversions on television. Do we have number 4?
Still in the wrong spot.
And again, Barnes is going to be able to jump out to an early, comfortable lead. Rather, Angelo, excuse me. So Barnes starts with a spare and an open frame 9. Angelo working on a strike.
And that's kind of the sign that you start to worry about when a player's playing as deep as Brad is. Because of the angle, you start leaving weak 10. So that's another adjustment that Brad will have to make as the lanes continue to break down. In this matchup featuring 2 former Rookies of the Year, Brad in 03, and Chris Barnes in 98. Likes the left lane, lane 7. And it's interesting because that's the lane that Chris Barnes just left a pocket 7-10 on.
Again, Angelo did not bowl the last 2 weeks due to a bad back. Wasn't planning on bowling this week. Was actually in the area for some meetings. Said, I'm around here. Let me just see how practice goes. He asked his doctor, if I bowl, can I re-injure this? Doc said, I don't think so. Give it a crack.
kind of kept fighting through the week. Said, I'm bowling all right. Let's keep it going. I asked him what he's taking right now to kind of maintain that back. Some cod liver oil, some Mind Checks, which sounds like a Midwestern grocery chain, but I think it's a vitamin. Some coconut oil, which I think you can rub onto the skin, but I don't know if he's taking it internally. I don't know, but whatever he's doing is working.
If it was just me, I'd just drop a Celebrex and be done with it. I mean, is there anything better than that anti-inflammatory? Come on.
Yeah, if you're Chris Spielman, you're saying, shoot me up, done. Where did I bowl? Put needle here, bowl there. Done and done. Barnes trailing by 12. Third frame, looking for his first strike.
Tied for third all-time with his fifth back-to-back-to-back TV appearance, tied with the great Mark Roth and Jason Couch.
There we go, blows him up.
Yeah, he shreds the rack, pretty nice there. Let's take a look at the wonderful physical game of Chris Barnes. See how he's got his hand on the side. He's trying to spin it a little more, a la Brian Himmler, who won back-to-back here at Vernon Hills. Check out the great balance, the foul line. He's got an incredibly tight thumb hold because he, obviously, number one, that's what feels good to him, but number two, what that does is it keeps him from squeezing it. It makes his release really fast at the bottom of the swing. Jason Couch, who I mentioned, tied for third with Barnes and Mark Roth on that list of back-to-back-to-back, has to take a deferment. He had knee surgery over the summer. He is not healed from that, so he's deferring his exemption for next season. Get well soon, Jason.
Yikes. Wow. Wow is about right. Frame number one for Barnes, he left the 5 standing. The next frame, 7-10 split. Strike, and now 3, 4, 7, and 6 are staring at him. As we take a look at our Motel 6 matchup. Barnes having another strong season, looking for his first title of the season, but has not made a split at all this week. 0 for 13. This is a tough one. Game effort.
Right now, Chris Barnes can't buy a break.
And Brad Angelo's getting them all. Second open frame of the first 4 frames for Barnes.
Good shot, number 4. Good shot, full price.
Got this just to the right of the 3-pin, goes to throw it over in the 4-7, and it goes right in front of the 7-pin. 0 breaks through 4 frames for Chris Barnes. Right now, Brad Angelo's got to be salivating.
That's a tasty little number in the 4th.
Daddy like.
Strike, strike, strikes. We love strikes.
Brad Angelo sliding almost even with the left gutter. That's how deep he's playing.
Again, Angelo looking for his first career title. He was doing his rehab, kind of stuck on the couch and on the bed, and he was telling us last night, Braveheart came on, he's getting all fired up, then Miracle on Ice, he's all jacked up. He's like, I got to get out there. I got the fever again to get out and have fun and excel. Now he's got a big challenge. What's the strategy on this pickup?
You get the ball over the left side of the 4-pin. Throw the 4 over into the 9, and that's really the first bad break that Brad Angelo has received today.
%, on his split conversions. 4-9 pickup. Goes left, and misses.
Good try.
Let's remember that one.
Barnesy's got life again. Ball just squeaks by the 4-pin. Right now, Chris Barnes only down by 10 with a double here. He can pull even.
Mercy. He's got the big ears. The big 4 staring at him.
Well, this has only been made once in the history of television by a guy by the name of Walter Ray Williams Jr. And really the strategy, well, there isn't any. Throw it really straight and hard at the 6-10 or the 4-7. Hope something bounces out, or you can try to slide the 6 into the 4-7.
Whips it. Last two. I mean, he's being asked to be a trick shot artist today with some of these leads.
And again, it's a strategy that is not paying off.
Are we done yet?
Where Chris Barnes thought he could play right of the big hook guys, where Mika Koivuniemi tried to play right of the big hook guys, and right now it seems to me that there's only one place to play on the lanes, and that's way in.
Barnes beat Angelo earlier this week in match play. 2 weeks ago, Barnes finished 4th. Last week it was 3rd. This week will be no worse than 3rd.
Oh, that's great.
Oozing sarcasm.
Right now, Chris Barnes' only chance in this match is if he were to move left a whole bunch where Brad Angelo is, slow his ball speed down, and give that bowling ball a chance to hook off the end of the pattern.
This kind of sums up his last 16 hours. We were with him last night watching his beloved Kansas Jayhawks fall to Missouri, and now this. Borderline debacle for him. He's not done yet. But Angelo in the driver's seat with a nice 22-pin cushion. The winner to move on the finals to take on Robert Smith. Our conclusion when we return. Down 11. He's got a little look on that face right now. The nonverbals are screaming.
He knows that he can draw within one pin with a strike here. He is yet to strike on this left lane. Boy, he made the big move too. He trusted it. He made the big move, moved way inside.
What's going on?
Tried to get soft with that, and the ball just doesn't turn the corner. And again, another bad break, leaving the 2-7 instead of just the 2-pin.
Yes, as quickly as he got up, he's right back down again, talking to himself. Thought he had it figured out, but that left lane has been a massive bugaboo for him here in match 3.
Huge cover there.
Nice pickup. If you're a senior varsity high school bowler, here's a great opportunity to compete for not only $10,000 in scholarships, but also a chance to bowl on ESPN with PBA pros. Applications currently being accepted for the Denny's All-American High School Championship set for next March in North Brunswick, New Jersey. Head to PBA.com to download an application for this tournament. Angelo needed that one. You sense that momentum had started to kind of leak out of his clubhouse.
Re-rack, Corey.
Brad's going to take a re-rack on the left lane to buy himself some time. Right now, he's starting to manipulate the bowling ball to get it to behave properly down the lane. Let's see if he can do the same thing on the left lane.
A week and a half ago, he was sleeping on a massage table because his bed was too uncomfortable. Partial paralysis, he was telling us, in his left leg. Amazing that he's even here. Gives all his credit to his doctor and ART, active release therapy. Jeez. Right into the beak of that one.
And I think it's safe to say that the left lane is officially on fire. Those career events without a title, Brian LeClaire leading that pack. Brad Angelo 5th on that list.
No.
Missed.
That's just the opening that Chris Barnes was looking for.
All right.
This is a sloppy match.
Both players in the 160s now. Chris Barnes think he's got a pretty good look on the right lane. You see Brad just disgusted with that shot, or that spare attempt.
Both of his strikes have come in this right lane. There's only 2 strikes in match 3. Give him another one. Loves that lane. Is it going to be enough?
3 in the 10th. Being the 180s, best Brad Angelo can shoot is 172. 2 more strikes on the left lane, and he'll lock up this match. Problem is he hasn't thrown a strike yet on the left lane. Remember the last couple of times he went high. The last shot he went light. He's moved in. He's made the adjustment. He needs one more really good adjustment to catch his first double of the match.
He's had 2 open frames here on this lane. He's going to have a third.
To have any chance in this match, he's got to make
Can't break
this.
up 1, can you? Not 1.
He's going to have to shake this one off.
He's got to make it. Ball right of the 6-pin, slided over into the 7.
Kicked it, but couldn't cut it enough.
0 good breaks for Chris Barnes this match. Went light, made the adjustment, went high. That left lane starting to get wet dry, meaning if you miss a little bit to the inside part of that lane, it's going to go really straight. You get it a little bit right, it overhooks. Brad Angelo gets the finish on the better of the 2 lanes.
Needs just a mark to win. Barnes ends up with a 151, the low score so far today.
Needs to cover the 10-pin. If he misses this, we have a tie.
Angelo does have 2, make it 3 open frames in this match. I mean, unbelievable. You're getting a guy with 3 open frames who could move on to the finals if he knocks down the 10-pin.
And he moves on. Here's a guy that averaged 260 his first 2 games and shoots 160. That just goes to show you how much the lanes can go through transition, how much they can break down. Just went to a different ball. He's going to try to find something for the title match because he knows 160 won't get it done against Robert Smith.
Looky what I found.
That had a better look, didn't it?
Sure did. So Angelo's numbers continue to go down, but he continues to move on. Game 1, it was a 265. Game 2, a 256. Here, a 162, but they're all wins, and that's all that matters. He takes on Robert Smith in our title match next.
Title match looming here at the 2007 CLR Windy City Classic. Our thanks go out to those 2, Bill and Barb Spigner, the co-proprietors here at Hawthorn Lanes.
Special thanks to the Spigners for hosting this event the past 6 years. They have sold this beautiful center to Brunswick. Bill hopes that he can help keep the tour stop here for years to come.
And we think he's going to enjoy his retirement.
Absolutely.
Next week, we hit the road, head back to Michigan, Wyoming, Michigan, just outside of Grand Rapids for the Great Lakes Classic. Live coverage at 1 p.m. Eastern. The week after that, we head to Baltimore, Maryland as well. Take a look now at our Geico Championship recap.
In match number 1, Brad Angelo defeated Ritchie Allen by the score of 265 to 168. Brad throws the front 7 strikes.
Brad, go get him, man. Run the ladder, brother. Good job.
In match number 2 was Brad Angelo again, defeating Mika Koivuniemi by the score of 256 to 233. Another 7-bagger. And in match number 3, it was survival of the fittest. Both players struggling, lots of splits.
No.
Brad makes the final spare to edge Chris Barnes by the score of 162 to 151.
It wasn't pretty. but it was effective. Up next, our #1 seed, Robert Smith. Get ready for some power bowling. His toss has been clocked as high as 34 miles per hour, but it's his rotation that is epic. We'll explain when we return. $25,000 on the line to our winner of our final match. The #5 seed, Brad Angelo, continues to persevere, survive, and move on as he gets set to take on the #1 seed, Robert Smith. Brad is back, despite his back, baby. Angelo versus Smith, and Rob Stone, Randy Peterson with you. And Randy, you're downright giddy to watch Robert Smith right now. You've just been watching him in warm-ups during our commercial break, and the flight of his ball and his attitude and the revs, it's fun.
Wait till you see the way Robert Smith is going to play the lanes in this title match.
Let's see how Angelo opens up this one. Again, remember, match 1, he started with 7 straight strikes.
And another ball change for Brad.
Curled in nicely. Never won a title. Iron won today.
It's just going through the natural progression of going to a little less aggressive equipment as the lanes break down.
Guys, let's have fun with this one.
Using that same release line. Check this out.
Here's Robert Smith, 6-time champ,
Soft.
who hasn't won since February 15 of 2004, 54 events ago.
Standing in front of the ball return.
Way left. Huge loft. Pounds. Drops 9. And 10.
Welcome back, Bobby. Welcome back.
I didn't think she was going to fall.
Watch this. Modifies his approach, goes to 3 steps. How about some loft, baby?
Ah! I love that.
Slower than that one, Robert.
And where? I don't know who knocked that one down.
Slower.
But she came from the back door.
Slower.
Oh, there's some energy in this place right now. Pounds the wood. Pounds the pins. He is setting a tone early on in this one. The #1 seed opening up with consecutive strikes. Now it's Angelo's turn to respond. Angelo also working off of a strike. More conventional. Leaves the 4 standing.
But, you know, he's not too disappointed with that because he goes to the ball change. He's not exactly sure how it's going to behave, and that's not that bad of a sign, tipping up there and just leaving the 4 pin.
Takes care of that one. Our Motel 6 matchup. #1 seed Robert Smith. This is his best finish of the season by far. His best coming into this week was 11, taking on Brad Angelo, who we haven't seen for weeks due to a bad back, which has kept him out of competition. Smith looking for title 7. Angelo looking for his first. And here is Angelo, down 10 in the 3rd.
Well, I know what it's like trying to win your first ever title, especially when you have clawed and fought your way all day long like Brad Angelo has, and he's getting the ball to the pocket he's not carrying, and his opponent, Robert Smith, used to be one of the most intimidating guys out here. He started with a double.
For the 2nd consecutive frame, Angelo takes care of that 4 pin to get a spare. And now we swing back to Mr. Smith, looking for a turkey to open up the title match.
Been a long time for Maximum Bob.
6-time champ, missed most of last season due to hip and back injury. He had what they call popping or snapping hip syndrome. That one pops the wood, pops 9 pins down. Basically, he had an atrophied hip flexor muscle. Said it still pops when he walks. His rehab, pretty intense. He says he's got a 4-pack right now. He's awfully proud of the 4-pack. I know you're just looking for a single. Worked his tail off, wasn't bowling. Hard to walk first couple months. A lot of hip strengthening with weights. Said he looked like he was doing ballet, a lot of core work. There's no ballet or finesse in that toss as he picks up the spare in the third.
Some of us have 6-packs, some of us have kegs. Take a look at our Etonic Edge. Robert Smith. You know, folks, how many of your friends tell you not to drop your right shoulder? Check that out. Look how low that right shoulder is. And here's where all the power is created. Notice the backswing, a little bit of cup in the wrist, and then in the downswing, cups his elbow and his wrist, and then full extension at the bottom of the swing. It's like throwing a yo-yo.
He says, I'm a shovel bowler. Gets down and low, digs it out.
All I know is that when he throws this type of shot right here, he puts the ick in sick.
Leaves the 10 standing. That form goes against essentially everything he would have ever been taught at a bowling center.
So now you know why he's lofting it like this. First of all, our Ebonite Digitrax is telling us that he's lofting the ball 14 feet down the lane.
Amazing.
And it's actually crossing the 35th board at the arrows. There's only 39 boards on the lane. He has to loft it, otherwise it's in the gutter as soon as he lets it go.
Next stop, he's just going to throw an overhand at it. Why not? I like his attitude. I like his style. Started with 2 strikes. Now it's back-to-back spares. Smith, the number 1 seed, with a 9-pin lead. Our conclusion when we return. The CLR Windy City Classic is brought to you by CLR. CLR, all kinds of dirty, one kind of clean. By Bear, the more you know, the more you trust Bear. By Lumber Liquidators, hardwood flooring for less. And by Denny's. Denny's always works. Rob Stone, Randy Peterson, we are with you till our conclusion of the CLR Windy City Classic. Robert Smith, the 1 seed, taking on number 5 seed Brad Angelo. As we take a look at our CLR clean sweep, and Smith has brought hang time to bowling.
By the beard of Zeus, how is that possible? I tried doing that. You think Brad Angelo's back hurts? Buddy, I was in traction for 2 weeks.
And there is a look at Robert Smith. Lives right now in Captain Cook, Hawaii, one of the great town names in our country. Will be moving after the season, though, to a little more pedestrian town, Columbus, Ohio. Captain Cook to Columbus.
Kona to Ohio. Interesting.
Seven pin, refuses to go down.
I like what Brad Angelo's doing, though. He's staying in the moment. He's not getting ahead of himself. He's just methodically trying to figure out what he needs to do physically to get the ball to enter the 1-3 pocket the right way. He's real close. He needs to tweak it just a little bit more.
Winless in his 6-year career, coming up short in all 103 events he's bowled in. 3 times he's finished second. He'll finish no worse than second today. Down 10 as we enter the 5th. Angelo working on a spare. Good adjustment.
Yeah, real good hand at the bottom of the swing there. You can see a little bit more rotation on it. And that ball had time to get out of the length of the pattern and make that little turn into the pocket. Watch this. This is just great touch by Brad Angelo.
Now, we've been gooing and wooing over Mr. Smith's hang time, but it's his revolutions that also really impress people. We'll talk about that here in a second. Here's Smith. Boom! They say the average revolution rate is about 400, right, Randy? And they say for Robert, It's like 600.
Yeah, he's in the 600s, and he can probably go past that as well. He can also throw a spare ball at almost 30 miles an hour. He's just physically, when it comes to bowling, just an incredible specimen. I mean, this guy can do things to a bowling ball that the rest of us only dream of. I mean, there's just things that he can do that the rest of us can't do.
How did the revolutions affect the pins when they hit him?
It slaps him silly. That's a lot of force going through the 1-3 pocket.
Push! Oh!
Pushes all 10 down. Nice transitional energy.
Ball can't hook in the air.
Let's put it this way, Rob. With all the revolutions and the ball can't hook in the air, you're right. Here comes some more loft for you. But with all those revolutions, there's little or no deflection as the ball goes through the pins, as it goes through the pins.
Now, Smith is enjoying this. He's been sitting around for about an hour, 10 minutes, just watching everybody, and boom, power game steps up. 20-pin lead over Angelo. Gets another one. Still alive.
Robert Smith is using pure power. Brad Angelo is using touch and finesse. Beautiful balance at the foul line and some nice pin carry.
Angelo looking for a turkey here on this holiday weekend.
Just love getting that turkey thing in, don't you?
I sure do. I think I'm going to call 4 strikes in a row a ham bone. Just going to force it on bowling. No turkey!
That ball just broke loose just a little bit right at the back part of the lane. Brad wanted this one. He could have pulled it within 1 pin, or excuse me, he could have pulled even. Nice break trip in the 4, but he leaves the 9. The spare here, he'll be down by 11.
Hits that one flush. The way Smith is bowling, you can't be leaving too many spares out there.
But you know, the other thing though is what Robert Smith is doing. It is a little bit risky. He gets too aggressive with that, too much loft. That ball skids way too far down the lane. It comes in late and he leaves a 2-8-10. He's got to keep his emotions and his intact along with his adrenaline.
Crash. Started bowling at the age of 6. Used to score for his dad in his dad's league. Scored 0 300 games.
Popped right off. Oh, I struck. Okay. Good job. Good thing you're focused.
I mean, that wood is going to need an ice bag at the end of the day.
Please.
Robert Smith slid into the foul light cover. He didn't go over the foul line, and there was a little piece of plastic that came right off of the foul light cover. Robert Smith doing the right thing. You can see it right there. Right about there, it popped off. Now keep in mind, here's the foul line. As long as he stays behind the foul line, he's good. Robert Smith doing the right thing right now, taking a re-rack to gain his composure and make a good shot here to take a 31-pin lead.
Up 21, looking for a ham bone.
One time.
There's a handful.
Yeah.
Ham bone!
Yeah.
That's a handful,
Right,
son.
Not going to take it from him. No way. Not now.
Think he's feeling it? I can't tell.
Check this out. Airtime. All 10 back.
One time. One time. Yeah. Yeah.
That is a stare down, people. That's a mixed martial arts stare down. Angelo. Pretty. It may not be as sexy, but it's just as effective.
And Brad's not going to go away quietly. He needs a hit right here on this left lane, and he can still strike out to shoot 237. Robert Smith can strike out for 268. It's all going to come down 9th and 10th frame. Who can perform? Who wants it more? Who makes the best shots?
Almost to Brooklyn.
Well, Brad got a Brooklyn hit earlier today, and this time when he needs it most, he doesn't come through when his bowling ball crosses over, and now he's in big trouble. Look out. Whoa. All right, well, the best he can do now is 217. Robert Smith's already in the 230s. A strike here in the ninth frame locks it up. Robert Smith will again be victorious on the Denny's PBA Tour.
In the position round on Friday night, Smith beat Pete Weber for a spot on the show. Thought he would be moved up to the 3 spot, but due to the low scores ahead of him, he actually jumped all the way up to the top seed. And now he's just moments away from having $25,000 put into his bank account. Looking for 5 straight strikes.
One more shot. Come on. Oh. Swing, swing.
What a shot.
Good shot. Good shot.
I mean, he's throwing pins everywhere. You talk about revolutions and power, that's what it does for you. Robert Smith with a spare here and a mark in the 10th frame will win his 7th career title.
Yes.
A mark there, good count. He's a winner.
He knew the math as well as we did.
Right? 6 pins? 6 pins. 6. Okay.
Let's listen.
Yes, 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 yes.
8's good enough. A game outing by Brad Angelo, the 5 seed, but he ran into a buzzsaw and maximum Bob Robert Smith.
What a great comeback.
Yeah, I wanted this one.
Wonderful week for Brad Angelo. He'll pocket 13 grand as the runner-up in an event that he didn't even think he was going to be bowling in. But Smith is your titleist, his 7th career Denny's PBA Tour title, and his first since February 15 of 2004. Back from that hip flexor muscle, and back muscling his way to another title here on the Denny's PBA Tour. Throwing one, like his opposition, Smith gets 9. Nice loft, Brad. I'm not sure his back appreciates that, though.
Welcome back. Thanks, buddy.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And soak it up, Robert. Title number 7 to Robert Smith.
Thank you. Thank you.
A big, impressive,
Thank you very much for having
fun
faith in
win.
me. Kayla, love you. Love you, sweetheart. Ah, thank you.
Tell you what,
40 years.
it's
40 years.
again, it's a heartfelt story for a guy that spent all of last season on the injured reserve list. He comes back not knowing if he could ever win again and pulls it off. Way to go, Robert Smith.
Yeah.
Next week, our traveling show heads to just outside of Grand Rapids, Michigan, Wyoming, for the Great Lakes Classic. Live coverage again here Sunday at 1 Eastern on ESPN of the Denny's PBA Tour.
Play my game, right? Play my game.
Robert Smith still soaking it in. Fun to watch him bowl. The number 1 seed takes home his first title of the season and 7th of his career.
Put this in my pocket.
For Randy Peterson and our entire crew, I'm Rob Stone. Pleasure to watch Robert Smith win this one. His 7th title. Angelo gets the runner-up. And next week we head to Wyoming, Michigan. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Extreme Bulls Tour is next. Enjoy the rest of your holiday weekend.